Hello everybody and welcome back. And it's the next morning and the party are going to the house of the senator who doesn't quite make it onto the hill but is in Bricktop. And this is the place where Donard and Carrick took Simeon Tornescu after that shootout at the docks. So they're bade enter by the butler into this grand house and they're shown into the room where Simeon Tornescu is sitting, minding his own business. And he stands up and says, "Good morning, gentlemen. What can I do for you?" Rowan shows him the locket and he says, Poor Lucia's locket. You found it." Rowan says, "We did indeed. Now, can you explain this on the back?" And he shows him the inscription from ST to LV. Simeon says, "Yes, that's my cousin Stefanos. He gave it to Lucia for an 18th birthday present." Donard pipes up, "Oh, a love rival then." Simeon looks down his nose at him and says, "That's the thwarted imagination of someone who hasn't had a proper education." And as we know, Donard hated this person already. Simeon then turns to Rowan and says, "Stefanos is happily married. And indeed, it was his wife who went to the jeweller's to commission this. You can ask him yourself. He normally hangs around that adventurers club of his, whatever." And Carrick says, "Are you not in the least bit interested to know where we found this?" "Okay, where did you find it?" Rowan says, "We found it in the room in a brothel." Simeon is genuinely surprised at that. And Rowan says, "And the young girl who occupied that room was found murdered." And Simeon just thinks, well, that is the kind of tragic life these young ladies live." And Rowan says, "But you were seen talking to her before she was murdered." And Simeon is protesting, "I do not consort with courtesans." Rowan says, "You were seen talking to one of them. We have witnesses." And then he remembers, and Simeon sits down and puts his head in his hands. "It's not looking too good for you, Master Tornescu. Why don't you tell us what it's about?" And Simeon shakes his head and says, "I can't. I really can't." And Rowan says, "You could be hung for this. You need to speak. You need to tell us something." And Simeon just insists, "I can't tell you." And oh well, we aren't going to get anything more from him. But we take his advice and we go to the Adventurers Club and confront Stefanos, his cousin. And Stefanos does indeed recognise the locket. He said, "Yes, it was a favourite of Lucia's. I bought it for her 18th birthday, and my wife, it was indeed her idea. I was rather fond of the young lady," says Stefanos, "but not like that, you know." We ask, "Did Lucia wear it all the time?" And he says, "Yes, but I noticed she didn't wear it recently, and when I asked her about it, she said she lost it, and she was incredibly upset because she wore it every day and was very, very fond of it." Rowan asks, "And did she say where she lost it?" "No, she didn't know. She thought that maybe the chain had broken or the catch had broken and it just fell off her." Stefanos asks, "Where did you find it, by the way?" Rowan says, "Well, it's going to be quite a story. It's probably not the most likely place." And Stefanos says, "You're in the Adventurers Club. I listen to stories all the time. Nothing will surprise me." So Rowan admits that they found it in the room of a courtesan. And Stefanos just shrugs and says, "Oh well, it's probably likely that Lucia lost it on the street. And well, those girls work the streets and they probably found it." And actually, that makes a lot of sense. And to everybody apart from Rowan, that kind of pulls the rug out from underneath all their ideas. The answer really was that simple. Lucia lost her locket on the street and Ruby picked it up. And Stefanos says, "Can I have it, please, as a memento?" And Rowan says, "In one more day, we just need it to help solve the murder of that poor young courtesan." "Oh, she was murdered," says Stefanos, astonished. "One never hears about the murders of the commoners, do we?" Well, again, we leave the Tornescu family, and it's no surprise to us that the common folk despise them, and the Tornescu family were the motivation for the riot. They are considered generally not popular, They're considered what you might call old money. They're old nobility, and they apparently are, according to all the writing on this stuff, very out of touch with reality. So, we keep the locket for one more day, and we leave the Adventurers Club with rather the wind taken out of our sails with all our theories. And Sylvia says to Rowan, "Can I have one last look at that locket?" Rowan shows it to her, and Sylvia notes that the chain and the catch are not broken. "How did it just fall off, Lucia?" And Rowan says, "Well, I don't think it did. I think she was covering up for something else. Just like Simeon Tarnescu was covering up why he couldn't admit that he was speaking to Ruby, and I know why. Follow me." They walk down to the docks. A huge crowd is gathered around the burnt-out ruin of the Vorlois construction site. They ignore that and walk towards the ships. Rowan pulls out the pendant from his pocket, and here we are at the docks, standing where Lucia used to stand, gazing out to sea, and probably close to where Simeon Tarnescu got on one knee to propose. It all seems to lead back here. "Will we find our answers here?" asks Carrick. "Close by, I think," the halfling answers, "but this," he holds up the pendant, "was probably stolen from the Vorloi house by Ruby when she was there." "But why would Ruby be at Lucia's house to steal it?" asks Malin, "unless she was there at the murder?" No, sonny," says Rowan. "This was stolen several days before the murder." "Well, my question still stands," says Malin. The halfling grasps his lapels with both hands and walks in a circle, flapping his elbows. He stops in front of Donard and points a finger. "It was you who spotted it first. Days ago at the morgue, after the coroner did her seance thing. What did you say while looking at Ruby?" Donard thinks that life is unfair, and after that, Rowan prompts him that all it would take was some different clothes and a different way of speaking, and she could have been Lucia Vorloi. "You saw the body of poor Lucia in the cellar under her house, and you saw the body of Ruby in the morgue, and you saw that they were interchangeable." "Are you seriously saying," goes Donard, "Lucia and Ruby had swapped places? But that's ridiculous." "Bizarre is not the same as ridiculous," says Rowan, "especially when everything makes sense." He looks toward Liz and Sylvia. "How did the folk at the Adventurers Club describe Lucia?" he asks. "Quiet, withdrawn, a dreamer," they answer. "And how did the staff at the house describe her?" "Good-humoured, making them laugh." "And how did the courtesans describe Ruby?" he asks. "Lots of fun, a laugh," says Liz. "But surely the staff would have known it wasn't her." "Why?" asks Rowan. "They were new. It was a Vorloi guest house. Lucia was just visiting for a time. They hadn't seen her before. The only person who could identify her was that butler, and he's as blind as a bat. And to make really sure Ruby couldn't be identified, they went to work on her face." "But the butler spoke to her. He brought her dinner in bed," says Malin. "Tuh," Rowan goes. "He saw someone wrapped up under bed covers, and what did Ruby's friends say she was good at?" "Doing voices, taking the mickey out of people," says Liz, slowly putting it all together. "It was during one of these times, when they swapped places, that Ruby just stole Lucia's locket from her bedroom." "But why would Lucia want to swap her life with Ruby?" asks Carrick. "Because she was a dreamer of adventures," says Rowan sadly, "and alas, as predicted, not a very realistic one. She hung around here," he waves his hand over the docks, "dreaming of far-off lands, looking at her uncle's ships, hoping one day be allowed to set sail on one of them. And then something happened." "What?" they all say in unison. Rowan points another finger at Donard. "Again, it was you who said it. She must have seen something, and she did. What exactly she saw, we don't know yet. She may have found some black cap dropped on the ground. She may have seen some dodgy-looking deal being made. I'm sure we'll find out soon enough. But she would have also seen the courtesans working the docks largely ignored. And that's when she realised she could become a spy. She could disguise herself as a courtesan and make her own adventure investigating whatever she saw. So she approached Ruby and arranged to swap places and presumably pay her," says Sylvia. "So the rich customer that Ruby had wasn't a man, it was Lucia?" "Indeed," says the halfling, and his pacing in circles and elbow flapping intensifies. And Simeon Taranescu, who was seen talking to Ruby, says Carrick, was really talking to Lucia. Indeed, my beardy friend, he must have followed her, love-struck, and that simpleton really thought that Lucia and the Vorlois had fallen so far that she had become a courtesan. That's why, when he proposed, right on this spot, he was heard to say, "Let me take you away from all of this." He was so unadventurous and lacking imagination that he couldn't see that Lucia was playing at being a spy. She probably told him to buzz off. He was spoiling everything. No wonder she turned him down. And that's who he was covering for when he refused to answer, says Carrick. And then, one day, presumably, she was caught spying, says Donard. Probably by the Veiled Society, says Rowan. They either captured her or killed her immediately, whatever. But when they realised they had killed Lucia Vorloi, they had a loose end to tie up, so they went to the Vorloi house and killed Ruby. It all fits, but it still sounds ridiculous, says Donard. We could ask Simeon Tarnescu if it's true, says Malin, now we know what to say to him. He'll admit it, says Rowan confidently. But there is a flaw in all of this, says Donard. The madam of the brothel, she identified Ruby's corpse. Oh no, my grim friend, says the halfling laughing. She's our weak link in all of this. Remember how Ruby's spirit was summoned with the wrong name? Her real name all along was Lucia. But all these girls give themselves new names, says Donard. If you remember, her spirit also said, "Who are you?" She didn't recognise anyone in the room, including the madam. And also, Liz chimes in, the girl said, "You never forget a face in their job." Thank you, says Rowan. The madam knew darn fine well she wasn't looking at Ruby. She may have even known it was Lucia. So she's in on it all, asks Malin. Yes, and I think we need to follow her. That little adventure you ladies were taking on in that temple in the sewers. I think the Veiled Society are up to something, probably tonight. Rowan looks towards Liz. I'm good at hiding in shadows. Can you come and keep me company? Liz nods. And the rest of us? Asks Carrick. Meet us here and be prepared to wait. We might be some time. Bring everything. Your best weapons, armour. No more hiding things under cloaks. Go to the temple and buy potions in case you get injured. And I'll ask the watch here for some backup, so expect to find company when you get here. And with their plans made, they march off back to the inn to get ready. Right, and so the plans for this evening have been laid. Liz and Rowan are gonna go to the brothel and follow the madam to see where she goes tonight. And everybody else is going to go to the docks to hang around this statue, waiting for Liz and Rowan to rendezvous. In the darkness of the night, Liz and Rowan creep down what have become rather silent streets. After the riot, the city has sort of fallen into a kind of despondent silence. And where we began, this was absolutely crowded with people for a festival. It's now become a bit of a ghost town, and it's very, very different. So they creep along here, past the great church of Traladara. They're hiding in the shadows, and lo and behold, coming the other way is the madam of the brothel, and Liz grasps Rowan's arm and points. They hide in shadows and watch her pass by and go north, so they follow her north to a house here, and it turns out this is Tyranno's guest house, where they found the clues with the red hair, the dagger, the blood and the hood. What on earth is she doing in that house? So they sit and wait for a bit and watch, and she comes out again. She comes out with a couple of other people in hoods and somebody else in a cloak but whose hood is not up. And Rowan recognises him. Liz doesn't because she wasn't at the funeral. But this is Emil Radu, one of the grandsons of Anton Radu, and this was the one that looked decidedly ill, and he had all the symptoms of somebody who is an addict of black cap. And so they follow them, and they go further north, and they go down these streets, and eventually they make it to the seafront, and they go to a warehouse here, and they enter the warehouse. When the warehouse doors closed, Liz and Rowan, several steps behind, they go up to the warehouse and look through the cracks in the wood, and what do they see? Right, so when Liz and Rowan look through the cracks in the side of this warehouse, this is what they see. They see 8 people dressed in the robes of the Veiled Society with their hoods, standing in a semicircle chanting. They see Emil Radu sat in a chair, and this warlock is holding a bowl of burning stuff under his nose for him to inhale. And it does smell over the place, and Rowan whispers to Liz, "That's Black Cap. They're making him breathe it. Why? I don't know. It must be something to do with the visions." This priestess is going up to this altar. She's holding aloft a small idol or an effigy, and Liz says, "That's the effigy we took from the temple below in the sewers." And they watch what happens next. Well, it turns into a ritual of chanting. Fascinating though it is, Liz does say to Rowan, "I thought the Radu family and the Veiled Society were together. Why on earth are they doing this to Anton Radu's grandson? What would Anton Radu think if he found out?" And Rowan whispers back, "I rather think that it was probably Anton Radu's idea to use his own grandson." And Liz also whispers to Rowan, "Do you think this is what Lucia Vorloi saw when she was trying to be a spy?" Rowan just nods, "Probably." They watch for a little bit more. I think the time to strike is when all these members of the Veiled Society are involved in whatever ceremony they're playing at. So Liz and Rowan slink off and go back to the docks. Here, and meet up with the others. The others have been waiting there for them, and 3 members of the guard from the North District have shown up, and they introduce themselves as Tom, and then Felicity, also known as Flick, and Barry. And these guys are seasoned warriors. The Watch and the Constabulary are largely made up of ex-military, and they tend to be tough as nails, so this is quite strong help. Right, and I think we will need it. So it is time to go to this warehouse and burst in and end this. Right, we need to burst through the warehouse doors because they have been barred. They're quite large, so we've got 4 fighters at the front, Tom, Flick and Barry and Carrick. If they throw 2, 6 or 5s between them, then they will burst in and we might get surprise. And they don't. Right, so the chanting stops and everybody turns to look at the door. Can they do it a second time? Yes, they do. They burst in. Are we going to do any pre-buff spells? Yes, Malin cast shield outside when they were bursting open the door. We don't have surprise, but there will be initiative. What do we have here? We have a priestess, we have a magic user, a warlock, 4 thieves with short bows and 4 fighters with short swords, shields and chainmail. These are all level 4 and some of them have the requisite THACO changes and some of them have skilled training for hit and damage. Let's roll for initiative. And it's mutual. Right, what is going to happen? We're going to do missiles first. Now Rowan, because he's a halfling and has got crossbow skilled training and has got a 2 dex bonus and is level 7, his THACO is incredibly low at 10. And the first missile thing we're going to do is we're going to take out their mage. I'm going to say that they're standing in the light of 4 burning braziers. That's not braziers, so it's going to be difficult for them to get cover, whereas we can get cover. Malin's turn is to move. He's got shield on him, so his AC is 2 versus missile attacks, so he's going to get some cover. That's movement. I'll do them first, so I'm going to have these 2 shoot Malin because they have some kind of line of sight on him, and his AC is effectively 1 because he's got cover behind here. So the first one misses, second one misses, these 2 on him. That's a real miss, and that's another real miss. So those 4 archers aim for Malin and they all miss. That's their missile round done. Our missile round is we're going to try and take out their mage and their cleric. So I'm going to have Sylvia and Liz on their mage. Well, Sylvia is on her longbow +1. She does get a short range bonus. Liz doesn't with her short bow, and Rowan doesn't with his little mini crossbow. So Sylvia misses that mage badly. Liz misses. Rowan is on their priest. Automatic hit, and he does 3 damage off her. She's down to 16. Next round is spells. Malin has moved. Donard is going to cast Blight on this group here, so that means they each have to make a saving throw or lose 1 hit roll. So I'll go through them all quickly. Green, orange, green, orange. That's 2 failures. Another 2 failures. That's a success. That's a success. Everyone else loses a -1 Thaco penalty, apart from fighter number 3 and thief number 8. Their spells round, their wizard is going to cast shield, and their priest, she was going to cast hold person, but her spell got interrupted. So now we're on to melee, and it's just time for the frontliners to move up. That is round 1. Okay, this is going to be one hell of a long fight. Round 2. It's mutual again. Let's do more missiles. Let's see if Rowan can take out their priest again. He misses. And let's see if Sylvia can take out their mage. She misses. Liz misses. Let's do the enemy missiles. Malin has got shield and he's hiding behind these crates at the minute. I'm going to say 2 can still get a go at him. That's a miss. And that is a miss. And these 2 are going to go for Liz. That hits Liz for 4. And that misses Liz. Spells. Donard has cast Blight, and he's going to move up to join the melee. That's his round. What's Malin's second spell going to be? It's going to be Mirror Image. So let's see how many mirror images he has. 1. Okay. Second wizard spell is Magic Missile, and that is going to be cast at Malin. And Malin has a shield spell up, so he is allowed a saving throw against that. And he fails. Wow, 7 points of damage are taken off him. He's down to 4. The priestess only has Cure Light Wounds next, so she's going to move up and join the fighting. Right, so let's do the melee. Let's do us first. Tom. Wow, easily hits and does a massive 7+4 damage onto fighter number 1. So he's from 22 to 11. Flick misses. Barry hits AC 4. He has AC 4, and Barry does a massive 6+3 damage. So fighter number 3 is down to 19. And Carrick, who hits and does max damage, so he's on fighter number 4, and he takes a massive 12 points off him. That guy is down to 11. Right, their turn. Fighter number 1 misses. Fighter number 2 misses. Number 3 hits Barry and takes 6 points off him. Barry got really high HP, so he is down to 22. And fighter number 4 is on Carrick and misses. So that's round 2. Round 3. They get initiative. Missiles. Now Malin is well hidden. Two of these are guys who are going to try and take out Rowan. That's a miss. That's a miss. One on Liz. Right, that's another 5 points off Liz. Everybody has a healing potion, by the way. And one on Sylvia. Misses. I have to remember all of these guys are blighted. So that's their missile round. Spells. Now their mage has got detect invisibility and invisibility. And at the minute, nobody is in either state. So the mage is just going to back off a bit. The priest is going to melee, so there are no spells, it's melee round. So fighter number 1 misses. Fighter number 2 misses. Number 3 hits and does another 3 points off Barry. Is taking a pasting. Fighter number 4 misses Carrick badly. This priest is also going to have a go. Tom, she misses. Right, Origo. Malin is staying hidden. In fact, he is going to drink his healing potion. And he does 7 points. He's back up to 11. Rowan is going to try and take out that mage. He misses. Liz. She misses. Sylvia misses. Remember that mage has shield on himself. Let's do Tom on enemy number 1. On fighter 1. Hits and does 6 damage. So fighter number 1 is down to 5. Flick misses. Barry misses. Carrick misses. Donard misses. Well, that was an excellent round number 3. Round number 4. We get initiative. Nice to see it. Right. Malin is going to cast his magic missile on that magic user who gets a saving throw. And who fails to make the saving throw. Does 4 points of damage. That magic user is down to 5. Rowan is going to try and take out their priest. Yes, and he hits, and he does 5 points of damage. Cleric is down to 11. Liz on the magic user. I'm going to have to throw that again. Hits and does enough to kill that. Sylvia is going to go for one of these thieves. And she hits, and she has a longbow +1, so she does 2 damage. This thief is down to 6 HP. Right, so that's the missile and magic round over. Tom misses. Flick misses. Barry misses. Carrick hits and does 12 damage. He kills fighter number 4. Donard has a go at fighter number 3 and misses. Right, there go. 2 thieves are going to have another pot shot at Malin. He has got a mirror image up, and that misses. That badly misses. 2 more thieves are going to go for Liz and Sylvia. The one on Liz hits. She's down to 5 HP. The one on Sylvia also hits, and she's down to 11. There's no spells. Let's do their melee. Let's do fighter 1 on Tom misses. Priest misses. One on Flick, hits, and that's number 2, who does 1d6 plus 2 damage. That's 6 points off Flick. She's down to 12. One on Carrick, hits and does 2 points off Carrick. He's down to 21. So that's everybody's round 4. Round 5. We get initiative. Good. Missiles first. Rowan is going to start taking out these archers if he can. And indeed, he can't quite take one out, but he takes 6 points off it. So he's down to 7. Sylvia misses another archer. Spells. Liz is going to drink a healing potion. Sweet, and does 7 healing. She's up to 12. Malin, what's he going to do? All he's got is an invisibility left. So Malin's is going to move. We have melee. Let's do Tom, who hits and does a massive 9 damage to fighter number 1, who is dead. Flick is going to go onto Priestess and misses. And Barry is on this one. He misses. Carrick misses. And Donard misses. Okay, not a very interesting melee round. So it is their turn, and they have got 4 archers, 2 on Rowan to miss. And that's a hit. 7 points of damage off him. 1 on Liz, misses. And the 1 on Sylvia hits and does just 1 point of damage off her. And their melee round, we have the Cleric on Tom, who misses. We've got fighter number 2 on Flick, who hits and does 5 damage off her. She's down to 7. Fighter number 3 on Carrick misses. It's round number 6. And it's mutual. Right, spells. The only spell is Flick is going to drink a healing potion. And does 5 points of healing. She's up to 12. Missiles. Rowan again is going to try and take out one of these archers. Yes, so he hits AC 2. He does 3 points of damage. So this one is down to 4. Liz misses. Sylvia hits and does 4 points of damage. 5 to this one. He's down to 1. Their missiles. 2 on Rowan. Miss. Miss. 1 on Liz. Miss. They are blighted. And the 1 on Sylvia misses. Their melee is just down to 3. We've got the priest on Tom, who hits and does 5 points. He's down to 17. We've got a fighter on Barry, who hits. That's fighter number 2. No, that fighter is blighted by Donard. That's a miss. And fighter number 3 is on Carrick. That's a hit and does 6 points off Carrick. Carrick is down to 15. Our melee round. So Tom is on the priest. He hits and does 12 damage off her. That priestess is dead. Barry, hits and does 4 points off fighter number 2. It's down to 15. Carrick does massive damage. Fighter number 3 is down to 7. And Donard misses. It's round 7. And we get initiative. Any spells? Yes, Cure Light Wounds on Carrick from Donard. We have been rolling very well. That's 7 points. He's up to 22. Missiles. Rowan on a thief. Fumbles badly. Liz. Liz's tackle was 13. She hits AC2. She hits thief. She does 7 damage to this one here and kills that one. Sylvia misses. Melee. Tom misses. Flick hits, and her damage is 8 plus 3, it's 10. Fighter number 2 down to 5. Barry hits and does another massive damage. That fighter number 2 is dead. Carrick on fighter number 3 hits, kills him, so all their fighters have gone. There go. They have 3 missile people left. One on Rowan misses. One on Liz misses. The one on Sylvia hits and does 3 points of damage off her. Sylvia is down to 7. It's round number 8, and there's only 3 melee missile people left. And they get initiative. Now let's see if their morale holds up. I'll do a group morale, and if I roll 9 or more, their morale fails. And it holds up. So they're going to fire again at our back line. It's a miss. That's a hit on Liz. And that is 8 points of damage. So Liz is down to 4. And that's a hit on Sylvia. Another 4 points of damage. She's down to 3. So that's their go. Our go. Rowan is on missiles. He's going to try and take out this front one. And his Thaco was so low, he does 3 plus 2 damage, 5 points off that one. It's enough to kill him. Spells. Donard. Second Cure Light Wounds on Liz. Great. That's another 2 points, she's up to 6. Sylvia drinks her healing potion. Good. She's up to 9. Melee. These guys are going to move up. I don't think they have time to do anything. So it's round number 8. And it's mutual. This is not going to go well for these 3 thieves, as they have to take out their melee weapons. In this mutual round, round 8, the thieves are taking out their melee weapons, and so therefore we have got 4 fighters. Are we going to try and missile them? Rowan will, because he's a sharpshooter. If he fumbles, he'll hit Tom in the back of the head. He doesn't fumble, but he misses. Liz and Sylvia don't really have anything like a clear line of sight, and Donard is going to move up. So we've got Tom on thief number 6. That hits and does 8 damage, and thief number 6 is down to 4 HP. We've got Flick on the same one. She misses. We've got Barry on this one. He misses. And we've got Carrick. Carrick hits and does 7 damage off that one. He's down to 2. This is male Radu, by the way, who's sat in a chair, drugged out of his head. He probably doesn't know any of this is going on. So we're on round 9. And these 2 thieves get initiative. I'm going to do another morale check. And it holds up. Right. One on Tom. Misses. One on Carrick. Misses. Right. I think there's a good chance they're dead. Rowan hits and does max damage and threads a needle through here and kills this thief with his crossbow. Sylvia and Liz can't really do anything. This guy is surrounded, so we're on to melee, and we might as well do Donard with his mace. He hits, he does 7 damage. I forget how good Donard is at melee. He's got Warhammer skill, a Warhammer +1 and 1 strength. So he does 7 points of damage to that thief, and everyone is dead. Apart from Emil, who is sat in that chair, oblivious to it all. So, while that fight is over, Tom, Flick and Barry are part of the constabulary, so they know the routine for clearing up this mess. Rowan will fetch the captain and ask everybody to come down here, and this is a job well done. This is a massive blow to the Veiled Society. It's a massive blow to the dealers of Black Cap. Rowan is very pleased, and we believe we have found the killers of Lucia Vorloi. Everything is all sewn up. What more could you want? And after everything gets cleared up and all the bodies get examined, we take Emil off to the jail in the North End. Let's see what tomorrow brings. And that is the adventure over. The next day, Anton Radu goes to the jail in the North End to retrieve his grandson. Emil describes how he was tied to a chair and forced to take drugs. Tom, Flick and Barry have to agree that was the case. So Anton Radu just snaps his fingers and says, well, it's clear my grandson is a victim in all of this, so there's no charges against him and he gets off scot-free. We go to the senator's house to speak to Simeon Tornescu to make sure we got our story correct, and he does admit that when he was speaking to a courtesan in the docks, it was Lucia, and he did follow her, wondering what she was up to, and we fill him in on some of the details. She really was not a courtesan. She was trying to do some good, acting as a spy to unmask a conspiracy, and we try to make it sound as though she had a noble death, suitable for a hero. Simeon says, the poor unfortunate wretch. You know, she would have been better off married to me, boring though I am. And reluctantly, we have to agree that is probably correct. We did not tell anyone that Lucia and Ruby swapped places, so the Vorloi family think they have buried their daughter, but it was Ruby who got the good send-off, and it was Lucia who was chucked into the pauper's grave. Well, as Donard said, life is not fair. We go back to the inn to collect our stuff and say goodbye to Rowan, and Liz shakes our hands and says, this is where I say farewell. Everyone says, you're leaving us? And Liz says, yes, all my life I've wanted to come to the big city, and I have more than enough gold to buy a lovely house here and make something of myself. And Rowan says, sweetheart, you've just crossed the Veiled Society. You'll be dead within a week. Liz goes, what? And Rowan says, it's not safe for you to live here at all. Maybe in a few years, when you're a master thief, not only could you move here, you could probably take over some of the city, but currently, no. And Liz is horrified, and she says, I have been shot at, I have been stabbed, I have slept in swamps, in caves, I have crawled through tunnels just to get enough treasure to buy somewhere here, and you're telling me, after all of that, I have to pack up and leave? Well, the answer to that is yes. Oh boy, she is not happy. Despite everything she has seen, she has not been put off wanting to live in the city. We try to mollify her by saying it's only going to be another year, you'll be much richer and much more powerful. So we have to set off on our adventures. Well, coming up next is this beast, the Night's Dark Terror, and I am so looking forward to this one. Not just because everything is written for me, which helps, but this gets such a good review, and it's so big. The Horror on the Hill and The Keep on the Borderlands went on for about 20 sessions, and they were half this. I think this will see me through the summer. Right, what did I think of the Veiled Society? As I said, the module is very, very thin. I tried to use almost everything in it apart from the ending, and I obviously made up a lot. I did say right at the start that most of this adventure would be the DM and the players collaborating to invent a city from the rather blank map that you were given in the module, and that would have been part of the fun. It was clear that this was the talking adventure. I really got sick of the sound of my own voice. I did try every session to make sure there was some gameplay, because at the end of the day, there is a G in RPG and there is dice rolling, and I really do love that bit. So I tried to mix up the narration and the exploration of the city with some actual rolling of the dice. What is different playing this today, as I said, is that the city has been created and is quite well documented, and I had a really good time going through maps. Who doesn't love looking at maps? And finding references and trying to see what I could bring into the adventure, and reading Specularum magazine and such, try and find out histories and these buildings. And I did try and use some of the inns and taverns that were mentioned, including the Golden Book, where they had their fancy dinner, and the Adventurers and Explorers Club is mentioned. And if you read Threshold magazine, it does actually say that Lucia Vorloi and Stefanos Tornescu do hang around there, and so that was too good to not put in. Looking at these references for the nest, I saw a magic shop here. Well, Malin had to visit that, and when I saw this little building here, it was called the House of Many Smokes. Well, Malin's fate was sealed. So I did try and use as much as I could that was relevant to, well, my version of this that was actually documented. In terms of something very different, exploring a city, this was a really nice welcome change. Yep, overall I had good fun. I think the phrase, you get out of it what you put in, or you make your own fun, those really apply to this adventure. And, well, I'll see you all later for the night's dark terror. Right, well, until next time, I'll see you then.